Hey everybody. Hey, before we watch this next video, I wanted to come in and tell you about my next workshop. I'm very, very excited about it because it is for the beginner gardener. Now, if you're a veteran, it's not for you. But if you are a beginner gardener or you still struggle with having an abundant garden, you have many questions about just how to garden, how to plant, what to do, and you feel like I have a brown thumb, this is the class for you. I am doing Gardening 101, Gardening Basics for the Beginner. It is going to be happening virtually on March the 23rd from 2 to 4. So you only have a couple of weeks to go ahead and get in and register. I am doing this class because when I put up poll in the community, this was the #1 class that you guys said that you wanted. Now, somebody out there wanted this class, so I am doing it. If that's you, raise your hand and click the button and register. But also, y'all, I still get people that I encounter that's like, can you show me? Like, I've never done a garden before. And my heart is for everybody to grow food. Everybody. I want you, if you want to learn how to grow food, I want to teach you. And so if this is your first garden that you're going to be having this summer, I want you to sign up and get in this class. It is going to be a live virtual workshop. I will be there teaching you and answering questions and giving you all of the basics so that you can have your first successful garden. And so if you learn better by being able to talk to me and ask me your questions personally and not just watch my YouTube video, let me tell you, this is the class for you. I'm doing it. This is the only time I'm doing it right now. Get in the class on March the 23rd. The link will be down in the description. Now, let's go watch this video. Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel and thank you so much for stopping by today. Today, I am trying something new that I've never done before and I wanted to take you along on the journey with me. So if you're new here, my name is Barbara. I live in Tennessee in Zone 7B and today is a beautiful day outside. It's like high 50s. It's not a lot of sun, but it is at least cool and comfortable. So we'll take it. It's a day that we can work. So for those that are new, thank you so much. Welcome. And for those that have been here before, welcome to you as well. I'm excited because today we're outside in the outside garden and getting it ready for the summer, one of the first steps. And so what I'm trying to do today is something using a silage tarp. I talked about this at the end of the summer and told you guys that I might try it. So today is the day I am going to try it. If you're not familiar with what a silage tarp is, think about landscape fabric that is non-permeable, meaning that water and light cannot get through. It is essentially that type of material or the same type of concept, except again, water and light cannot pass through. Now, obviously we have landscape fabric down on our, on all of our beds and stuff, but you guys know that I use a, for lack of a better term, a prefabricated landscape fabric that already has the holes preset in it. Now, even if I didn't buy it already with the holes preset, we, when we did that before, we started using this, we would, burn holes or cut holes in the landscape fabric. So either way, it's the same concept. What happens is that when you're not planting and your plant is not fully in the ground covering that hole, or at the end of the season, when you're not planting, what's going to happen is you're going to have weeds that come up through that hole. Everywhere else, I do not have weeds. Like the weeds does not come up through the paper, right? But where the plant was or the hole is, weeds are going to come through if you do not cover it. And so we did not cover it after this last season. I think we did the final harvest of this outside garden early October, and it's been sitting here like it always does. We always say we're going to come back and cover it, but you know what happens. Life happens and you move on to something else, or it gets too cold. So now here we are in March. I'm gonna turn the camera around and show you all the weeds that have popped up in the holes. And so this is gonna be a way for us to kill the weeds and suppress the weeds very, very quickly. So let me turn the camera around and show you what it looks like out here. So you can see here, this is the classic example of what I mean. So there's a huge patch here because in this particular section on the right, the holes are like six inches apart. This is where I had my onions last year. So you can see here behind the patch. Let me just take you down there. So this patch here, the holes are like 6 inches apart. You can see this long patch, grass, weeds, everything's just covering it everywhere. But you can see the part right behind it, the same landscape fabric. And these are the holes. You can see they're 6 inches apart, which are perfect for onions. But what's the difference? Why do I not have any weeds there, but I have weeds all along here? It is because this was covered up with this landscape fabric right here. We just not pulled it up, but it got pulled up just recently the other day. And you can see, y'all, there's absolutely no weeds right here. Absolutely zero, which means I know that this process is going to work, because this is not even silage tarp. This is just my landscape fabric that does not have any holes in it that we laid down over this section. Because if you remember last year when we pulled the onions up, it was quite a challenge to pull them up with the weeds. And I had my husband lay this paper down immediately afterwards. So I'm like, I don't want to deal with 1,000 holes of weeds. So we laid it down all the way up until this point. But remember, I tried to do corn here late in the summer. So that's why this section wasn't covered up. But you'll see here, all of this is covered up. So essentially, the silage tarp is going to do the exact same thing that this paper did. So you can see here the outside garden all the way down. You just see little rows of weeds. So like, look, it's just in the hole. So that's the hole, that's the weed. You see where the paper is? There's no weeds. It's just in the hole. Now, I could bend down and pull this up. See, it comes up very easily. So it's not like it's root bound and it's been there a long time, because it really just started growing once the sun and light and stuff came out. So I could do that over this whole space. And that's what we have done before. Every single year we have just gone through and gone to every hole and pulled it up. Okay, y'all, so my husband, we decided to do it in this section right here. So the silage tarp that I bought is a 20 by 20. This space is a 40 by 100. Did they have it in 40 by 100? Yes, they did. There's a couple of reasons why we did not get the 40 by 100. So the reason why we didn't get the 40 by 100 that would fit this entire space are for a few reasons. One, cost. Obviously, you know, you got a budget and, you know, manage your money. Number two is a place to store it, because if you think of 40 by 100, that's going to be really, really big to fold up and to store. We already have a hard enough time storing our shade cloth that goes on the top of our tunnel. And so that would have been difficult. And I've read that a lot of people, what they'll do, instead of buying one that's so big, if they have a large space, they will get a certain size and they just rotate it. So once the weeds are suppressed or dead in that area, they just move it to a different area. So that's also an option. I got my silage tarp from Mindful Farmer, which is a local farmer in Arkansas. That's where I get my my cultivator from. The one that I showed you guys before is from Mindful Farmer. But you can also get silage tarps from Grower Solution, Farmer's Friend. A lot of people have them. So there's definitely options out there at different sizes and different price points. Because it was our first time trying it, that's another reason why I just went with the smallest size that he had, because I wanted to try it and see if we liked it. And I wanted to see in my mind, okay, a 20 by 20, like I know the measurements, but okay, how much space is that going to cover? Another thing that we had to account for is that we do have trellises already up in place in the outside garden. And so in order for it to do the entire garden, a 40 by 100, if we would have bought that size, we would have had to take up all of the trellises and lay the paper down and then put the trellises back. Now, is that an option? Yes, that's an option, but that's also more labor intensive and all of that. And again, remember, because we don't do this full time, we are always trying to be organized, efficient, and intentional, and try to use the time as best as we can with the small amount of time that we have. So those are all the reasons why I didn't get a bigger one. Obviously, a bigger one can definitely be an option. I'm definitely going to get another one. So either I will get probably maybe a 20 by 40 or a 40 by 40. And I think between those, depending on what size I get, we'll get one or two more, and then we can just rotate as we need. But I already think that this is going to work, and it's going to be a game changer, because it's going to, all you have to do is lay it down and secure it. So right now my husband is looking to see, okay, how can we secure it? Obviously you could use sandbags, you could use landscape staples, but what I've read when I was doing the research, a lot of people try to use concrete blocks, because if you live in a high wind area or you get a lot of high winds, then you don't want the wind billowing up through your silage tarp, because obviously you want it to stay down so that it can suppress the weeds. Now, how long does it take? It usually takes from anywhere from 3 to 6 weeks. Obviously, the hotter it is outside, the quicker it works. If it was like 90, 95 degrees outside, literally it can work in a couple of weeks. Because our temperatures are mild, in my mind, I'm going to probably give it, 3 to 4 weeks, and then we will check it. So at the 4-week mark, we're going to be like mid April, so to speak, that I might be able to do one more area before it's time to plant. But remember, I could have laid this down back in October. It could have just been sitting here. It's not going to hurt it to sit here. So if I had enough, and like the concept, we could have laid these down in October, secured it with the concrete blocks, and then everything will be done. And so when it's time to plant, you literally just pull it up and you're not going to have any weeds. So I like the efficiency that this is going to bring. Now, if you have used a silage tarp before, let me know down in the comments below and give me any of your tips, tricks, lessons learned, and things like that. Okay, so it's dual-sided, guys. There's a black side and a white side. So if you want to suppress your weeds, you're going to do the black side down. And that's what I anticipate using this for mostly. If you're going to use the white side, that's really for like in the summer to help with seed germination. It creates like a humidity effect. But my husband is just kind of laying this down. We're going to see what part it's going to cover. So let me see if I can help him lay this out. So you can see what it looks like in the space that is covering. Obviously, we have way more space to cover. Now, I asked my husband, this area right here in between the trellises is obviously wider than 20. And so it's not going to really fit unless you fold it under. And so I said, do you want to move the trellises or do you want to just pull the weeds by hand? And really, it's going to be 4 rows. He said he'd rather pull the weeds by hand. That's on him. Because your girl is trying to be efficient. Because really, that's really 4 rows that you got to put the weeds in if you don't do a silage tarp in this area. And maybe you could do one in the middle 2 rows and just fold it under. And then you would only have to do the holes where the trellises are. But anyway, I'm going to let him decide on that. So again, I want to reiterate that this is an option. This is not a must-have, especially if your space is much smaller and you don't have a lot of weeds that you have to go up and pull by hand. For us, this could literally take a whole day to pull up all these weeds in the holes. I tried using wood chips before. That didn't quite work. To me, it does better if it is completely covered. That's how you're not going to have any weeds, because if the sun can get through, you're just usually going to have weeds. Now, for those of you who do not have any landscape fabric down and you garden and you deal with weeds, I highly, highly, highly recommend that you get landscape fabric. Put that on your to-do list. Make it a treat for yourself, because if you garden and you are struggling with weeds, you can spend so much more time gardening than weeding if you have landscape fabric down. And let me also give you another tip. If you're going to go and get landscape fabric, I highly suggest do not get the cheap kind. It is not going to work as effectively, okay? And it's not going to last. What we have down has been down, let's see, I want to say this is the 3rd year. And we have had absolutely no issues. I got this from Grower Solution. And I think the brand is DeWitt. They also sell it on Amazon. It is in my Amazon shop under gardening supplies. And so whichever you prefer is perfectly fine. If you're an Amazon lover, then go get it from Amazon. But if not, you can get it from Grower Solution. And it is the woven weave fabric. When we first started gardening, I tried some from Home Depot. That tore up, not gonna work. So you definitely get what you pay for. And again, remember, if you're gardening and you're going to be gardening, you have to invest as you can for the long haul. Somebody was asking me the other day about what type of pots and cups do I use to start my seeds. And I was telling them the 2 brands that I use, which is Bootstrap Farmer and Epic Gardening. Now, you can go to the Greenhouse Mega Store. You can go to Walmart. You can do all of those things. Those products do not last more than a season. They're flimsy. They don't hold. You're going to be dropping stuff. Your seed's going to be all over the ground. Again, if that's what your budget allows, then do that. But just know you're going to have to buy it again if you're serious about gardening. And so all I'm saying is, if you are gardening and you're going to be gardening, as you buy stuff, think about investing in things that are quality so that you don't have to buy them over and over again. And y'all, that's the same thing with life, right? You can buy cheap furniture, right, from a cheap place, and then your butt's gonna be hurting, the legs gonna give out, and you're gonna have to buy the furniture over and over again. That's just what happens. You really do get what you pay for. Okay, so I'm gonna wait for my husband to come back and see what he has to secure this. But let me show you what happened in the last few days that you didn't see. Look who got their beds filled and ready to plant. Look at that, y'all. It's coming together. So let me show you how our onions are doing. So far, so good. I need to water them today. My husband got all of the 3 beds filled that I have left, and I still have dirt or soil left over. Look at that. So I wish I would have had more beds, because he could have done them. So y'all, I feel like I need to name this section. Y'all, what should we name this section? This section of our garden beds along the perimeter of the outside garden. The goal or the vision here is to have garden beds going all the way down to the fence. I think I can get probably 5 more beds. And this is how I'm going to create additional space to plant without a major overhaul of building a new fence, tilling more ground and all that. This is how I'm going to do it. So we do have 3 beds right now ready to go. And so I'm going to plant the remainder of my onions in this bed here. And these 2 beds are to be revealed. So right now my husband is looking to see, okay, how can we secure it? Obviously you could use sandbags. You could use, so we're repurposing. We have these papers in the back of the house that my husband, I think, was using when he built the wood shed. And so they're probably a 12 by 12 if I had to guess, like just little squares, but they're concrete and they're heavy. We had 3 of them left over. So he is putting 1 at each of the 3 corners, and that's definitely going to keep it from coming up. I can see now why you would use concrete. It's way more sturdy than using sandbags or something like that. Now we probably can put sandbags along the edge or stuff, but you see how I still have those weeds poking up. I'm gonna go make sure the paper is over that part because we want to make sure that we get all those weeds. Now, let me tell you something. If you think you're going to walk on this paper, it's going to be more like gliding. It's very slick. So if you do this, make sure that you're careful. So we got this side up here in the front covered up so that the weeds, probably still need to straighten that piece. You see how it's poking up right there? So that bag is just some paver base that he had that he didn't open from the woodshed bill. So that's definitely coming in handy. So y'all, we got the silage tarp down, so that is a win for today. And so I'm going to check it back in like 4 weeks, which will be like mid-April, and I may come peek before then, but at least 4 weeks, and I will show you guys the results when we take the tarp off. I'm going to order more at least one more, and we'll lay that one down as well. But I think this is going to be a good way for us to suppress weeds in between seasons, because we don't plant out here in this space in the winter and the fall. We only plant in it in the summer. And because it's a large space, I think it's going to be way more efficient than pulling the weeds by hand. And again, this is rated to last at least like 10 years. It's 5 mil. I guess you could call it plastic, 5 mil. So it's durable. It's supposed to last up to 10 years. So I think it's going to be a good investment. This 20 by 20, I think, was $60, if I'm not mistaken. Obviously, the bigger you go, the higher the price. When I had first priced one that would cover the whole length of the outside garden, which is a 40 by 100, I want to say that was like between $275 and $300. So again, it's still reasonable, which is relative, again, depending on your budget and things like that. But for us, it would be very reasonable. And again, if we didn't have the trellises in place, it would make probably a lot of sense to just, and especially if we had storage, it would make sense to just get one big piece maybe, and then just put it down and have it down all throughout the fall and the winter. But we're going to piecemeal it like this, and I think this is going to work better for us in our particular situation with limited space and things like that. So I'm very, very excited. And again, this whole method of weed suppression, again, a lot of farmers use this. This is not anything new. It's just new for me to try it, but it's a great way to kill invasive weeds. It's a great way to keep your weeds under control. And then also what happens is it creates almost like a stale seed bed. And so what happens while it's the stuff that's under the tarp is that it's killing the weeds, and then obviously new weed seeds may emerge and it kills the weed seeds. So that way when you take it off, you have less likelihood of getting even weeds in that area. I'm probably not explaining it the best way, but based on the research that I've done and what I've read and seen, that is how it works. So I'm excited to try it. Let me know if you guys have any questions. I'll answer whatever I can, and let me know if you used it before, and share some notes in the comments. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, please subscribe to the channel. Would love to have you as a member of the community. Until next time, remember, gardening is a journey. Let's grow together. See you soon, friend.